My sister and I will raise Hannah. You need to leave. My husband uttered coldly. I was shocked because he suddenly told me that we are getting divorced, and I couldn't find the words. To suddenly invite my sister-in-law into the house, and then try to kick me out, it's just too cruel. With my husband's merciless declaration, I was plunged into the depths of despair. I'm Janelle, 33 years old, and living with my husband and daughter. Our daughter, Hannah, is in the 2nd grade of elementary school. She's only 8, but she acts mature for her age, and she's grown up to be a lovely child, who cares about her family. My husband is an ordinary businessman, and his salary is not that great to say the most. When I consider future expenses, such as Hannah's education, and our retirement, I become increasingly anxious. I have made my own estimates of future expenses, and I came to the conclusion that my husband's income alone wouldn't be enough. So, when Hannah started elementary school, I decided to start working part-time. I started working at a supermarket nearby, and it was only a 5-minute walk from home, so it was very convenient for me. I was busy with taking care of my child, housework, and work, but I was living a somewhat fulfilling life. Dad, you left your shirt here after you took it off. Take your bag to your room, okay? Hannah said, crossing her arms, as my husband was relaxing on the couch after he came home from work. They say children imitate their parents, but is she imitating me? Maybe she is just at the age where she wants to act grown up. Watching Hannah like that, I felt a warm feeling inside. Sorry, I'll put them away right away. While he was trying to be funny, he did as our daughter said. Seriously, you are not a child, so be more responsible. Hannah said, puffing out her cheeks. By looking at this situation, I don't know who's the child here. As I prepared dinner, I said with a smile to my husband and Hannah, still with her arms crossed, said, Dad's so sloppy, so I have to make sure I'm on top of everything. After saying that, she sighed, and made a gesture as if to say, oh well. Hannah's critiques continued. And you have to do something about that belly of yours. It doesn't look good, and I'm embarrassed. My friends will laugh at me if my parent has a potbelly. When my husband was told this, he could only chuckle while rubbing his protruding belly. I'm not in the position to say this, but my husband has gained more than 20 pounds in the past few years. In his younger days, he had a slim figure and a gentle demeanor, and it seemed that many women were attracted to him, including me. However, my husband no longer resembles his former self. He has just become an overweight middle-aged man. We've been together for 10 years, so I don't have any particular complaints, but from our daughter's point of view, who is at that age, he might become a subject of embarrassment. My husband laughed off Hannah's nagging with a casual okay. Then one day, while the 3 of us were having dinner, my husband's phone rang. It's bad manners to take a call during a meal, you know. Hannah scolded my husband, like a mother, and he lowered his head, saying, yeah, sorry. However, as soon as he saw the phone screen, his expression suddenly turned into a smile. It's from my older sister. Sorry, I'm going to take this call. My husband got up and put the phone to his ear. Sis, it's been a while. How have you been? Whether it was the joy of having a long-awaited conversation with his sister or not, my husband's eyes were sparkling. The last time I met my sister-in-law was 2 years ago. When Hannah graduated from kindergarten, we visited my parents-in-law, and by chance, my sister-in-law and her husband were also visiting them. My husband and I have been married for over 10 years, but I've met my sister-in-law only a few times. My interaction with her is very rare, but my husband often talks with her on the phone. My husband is the only son, and my sister-in-law is the only daughter in the family. My parents-in-law once told me that my husband has been attached to his older sister since he was young, always following her around. I thought, it's nice that they have a good relationship, so I didn't have any particular complaints. It seems their conversation was lively, and they talked for about 15 minutes. Finally, it seems that they hung up the phone. My husband started talking excitedly after he returned to his chair. "Apparently my sister is getting a divorce." He said it with a happy smile. Is that something he should say with a smile? I thought it was strange. But my husband didn't seem to care, and he continued talking. "She's getting divorced and moving out here." Hearing my husband's words, questions popped into my head. My sister-in-law lives in Vancouver, while we live in Edmonton. If she's moving to Victoria where her parents live, it would make more sense, but why is she moving to Edmonton? "So, she will be staying here for a while, and I'll need your help with various things." I asked my husband, who was trying to push things forward without asking, "Are you saying she would live here? What is her plan?" I confronted my husband with questions. "Of course. She won't be able to find a place to live right away, and going through divorce is tough, so we have to help her." "Hannah, you like Auntie, right?" When my husband asked Hannah, she replied with a happy expression. "I really like Auntie." Given the circumstances, I couldn't oppose it. The conversation proceeded smoothly, and it was decided that my sister-in-law would come to our house. 1 week later, when I returned home from work, laughter echoed from inside the house. "Good job, Hannah, you're so responsible." Entering the living room, I saw my sister-in-law patting Hannah's head. "Hello, Krista, it's been a while." When I greeted my sister-in-law, she replied bluntly, "Janelle, you're finally back, huh? Aren't you late?" Even though it has been a long time since we have seen each other, my sister-in-law spoke curtly. "I've been busy and I couldn't leave work earlier." I retorted with irritation, because the first thing she did was to complain. "Hannah is hungry too, so please prepare dinner quickly," she said. For a freeloader, she was being too presumptuous. I was annoyed, but I had indeed returned home late, and I still had to prepare dinner. So, I hurriedly began preparing dinner. From that day on, my sister-in-law began living with us. She talked about the reasons for her divorce, but it was a rather vague explanation. She listed complaints about her husband for not doing housework, having a cold attitude toward her, and so on, but it felt like she was just making up the excuses to justify the divorce. My husband didn't seem concerned. He simply seemed happy to live with his sister, and he didn't mention anything about her future plans. 2 weeks had passed since my sister-in-law arrived. But it seemed she had no intention of looking for a new place or job. While it would be fine if she helped with household chores, but she mostly just lounged around at home. I even had to prepare meals, juggling it with my job. At least, she actively took care of Hannah, so I was able to hold back my complaints. When Hannah wasn't at home, my sister-in-law would either watch TV or play with her phone. This life continued, and my frustration only grew. One day, after my sister-in-law and Hannah had gone to bed, I vented my frustration to my husband. "How long are you planning to let your sister stay here? Wasn't she supposed to look for a place once she got here?" Then my husband said, "Why don't we just let her live in our house? Hannah is attached to her, and it's convenient to have her around, isn't it?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing from my husband. Even though she's his sister, there's a limit. I couldn't allow my sister-in-law, who neither works nor does any housework, to keep living in our house. It's not convenient at all. It's rather causing me stress. You should tell your sister to leave soon. I confronted my husband in a firm tone. However, my husband said with an irritated expression, "How can you say such a cruel thing? Tell my sister, who just got divorced and is heartbroken, to leave? I didn't think you were that kind of person." He was angry with me. I was filled with despair when I saw my husband defending my sister-in-law without caring about my hardships. I was beyond angry and even sad. I haven't seen any sign of my sister-in-law being heartbroken in her usual behavior. She has been spending her days lounging around, taking advantage of my husband and me, who never say anything. My frustration spread throughout my chest, and I lost the will to argue. Then my husband said to me, "Anyway, my sister will be living here for a while," and headed to the bedroom. I had never known that my husband was so attached to his sister. Could I find a way to conquer this situation? If I keep living with my sister-in-law, I will become insane from the stress. I shudder at the thought, but no solution comes to mind. I went to bed with a heavy heart, and I couldn't fall asleep for a long time. A few days later, when I returned from work as usual, my husband and sister-in-law were sitting facing each other, chatting and laughing. Without thinking much, I began preparing dinner, but my husband called me. "Janelle, can you come here for a moment?" My husband summoned me. I stopped cooking and headed towards my husband and sister-in-law. My sister-in-law was grinning, with a somewhat unpleasant smile, staying silent. When I took my seat, my husband said out of the blue, "We found a new house." "A new house?" My mind went blank momentarily, but I assumed that he meant that my sister-in-law had found a new place a few seconds later. He didn't say that the other day, but I guess my husband had also been thinking about my sister-in-law's future. I was relieved by the fact that my sister-in-law is leaving our house. "Oh, you found a new place? That's great," I said to my sister-in-law, but she just grinned and remained silent. Seeing my confusion, my husband continued, "That's why I need you to pack your belongings quickly." Unable to comprehend my husband's words, I was confused. "My things? What do you mean? You must be mistaken. You meant your sister's belongings, right?" My husband replied to me, who asked nervously, with a blank expression. "No, I'm not mistaken. I mean it literally. I'll divorce you and raise Hannah with my sister. You need to leave." I was so shocked that I couldn't utter a word. In response, my sister-in-law said to me, "I'm sorry. I feel bad, but I think it's the best for my brother and Hannah. I'll take your place and do my best. So don't worry and just leave." With a smug smile still on her face, my sister-in-law told me. I faced my husband, turning away from my sister-in-law. "What do you mean? You want to kick me out so you can live with your sister? And you say that it is for Hannah's sake?" I was too confused, and I didn't know what else to say, so I fell silent. "As my sister said, Hannah is more attached to her than you, and it would make Hannah happier if she raised her," my husband said coldly. I never knew that my husband was feeling that way. We've spent over 10 years as a family, raising our child together. I've never complained about my husband's low income, and I've worked hard for him and our daughter. I felt like I was plummeting into the depths of hell, in such despair. While I was engulfed in grief, my sister-in-law spoke to Hannah. "Hannah, you want to live with me, right?" Hannah, who had been watching TV, without joining our conversation, looked up. "Huh, why?" Hannah asked, curiously. "Why?" "Because you like me, don't you, Hannah?" Perhaps Hannah's response was unexpected, as my sister-in-law seemed flustered. "Well, I do like you, but I don't think I can live with you for a long time." Hannah said this calmly. "What?" my sister-in-law said, and she looked stunned. "Well, isn't it true? You just laze around at home every day, and you make a mess on the couch with snacks, yet you don't even clean up. Mom cleans every day, and she cooks for us too, but you never say thank you, right?" Hannah's straightforward and sincere opinions left my sister-in-law speechless. "My teacher at school said that it's important to keep doing whatever it is every day. You'll never gain the skills to do for the things you are not doing right now. If Mom isn't here, we won't be able to have delicious meals, and the house will get dirty, right?" I don't want to live with a couch potato like you. Hannah unloaded her thoughts onto my sister-in-law. Couch potato? Shocked by the harsh words, my sister-in-law said it in a funny voice. Seeing my sister-in-law in disarray, my husband also started to panic. Hannah, you love Dad, right? You want to live with Dad, don't you? My husband asked while being upset. I don't really want to live with Dad with a potbelly and the couch potato. Hannah said this with an innocent expression on her face. Besides, I love Mom the most, so I want to live with her. Hearing Hannah's words, my heart warmed up. Hannah is known for being smart and kind among teachers and parents at school. Hannah, who is clever, saw through my sister-in-law's dependence and my husband's unreasonableness. She is cornering my husband and sister-in-law, using her wits. I was moved and felt good at the same time. My husband and sister-in-law looked at each other, and they were flustered. There was more to Hannah's plan. You are okay with it too, right, Grandpa? Hannah suddenly said, while looking at the computer. What? My husband exclaimed in surprise. My sister-in-law and I couldn't hide our astonishment at this unexpected turn of events. Yeah, I think that's the best for you, Hannah. I heard a voice from inside the computer, telling her slowly. I had noticed that Hannah had been playing with the computer since earlier. I thought she was watching videos as usual, but she was actually having a video call with her grandfather. Her grandfather had heard everything we had discussed so far. Realizing this, my husband and sister-in-law became even more frantic. Dad? My husband said and stood up. What do you think you are doing? My father-in-law asked quietly, but his voice clearly carried anger. My husband and sister-in-law seemed to have sensed his anger that was simmering, like magma burning in the ground. Ted, it's not like that. My sister-in-law stammered, clearly flustered. My father-in-law started talking again. I've heard that you had run away from your house, leaving all the debt with your husband. My sister-in-law fell into an awkward silence at his words. Debt? What are you talking about? My husband also seemed surprised at the mention of the word debt. This is what my father-in-law told us. After she got married, my sister-in-law quit her job and became a full-time homemaker. Neglecting household chores, she kept going out to have fun. Furthermore, she splurged on luxury goods, and soon her allowance fell short. Out of a desire for spending money, she resorted to borrowing money. Her husband was too busy with work to notice her misconduct. My sister-in-law, unable to keep her head above water with debts, found a suitable reason, asked for a divorce, and came to our house, leaving all the debt with her husband. She just came running away, while making excuses to make it look like she was the victim. On top of that, she was planning to demand alimony. Her husband contacted my father-in-law, and the truth came to light. My husband, seemingly unaware of these facts, asked, Sis, what are they talking about? You never said anything about debt. This is completely different from what you told me. I only helped you because I felt bad for you, and you said that we can enjoy ourselves, using the alimony. What are we going to do now? Though he supported her scheme, my husband started blaming my sister-in-law. Both of them are beyond help, and I began to feel frustrated. Enough is enough. My father-in-law had enough of their selfishness. I'm coming over now. Be prepared, he hung up the phone after he said that. My husband and sister-in-law turned pale. What should we do? Your father's coming, and my husband will probably come too. My sister-in-law sought help from my husband, but he said, I can't do anything about it. In fact, I might get killed by Dad. Overwhelmed by my father-in-law's warning, my husband and sister-in-law lost their minds and had tears in their eyes. Hey, Janelle, please help us. My husband asked me, of all people, for help. I no longer had any affection for him. It's pitiful to seek help, from someone you tried to abandon. You should live happily with your beloved sister. You with a potbelly and a couch potato. Feeling victorious, I looked down on my husband and sister-in-law. When I glanced at Hannah, she was wearing an innocent smile, even in the midst of this intense situation. She had defeated the monsters tormenting me. My little hero was right there. My husband and sister-in-law, fearing my father-in-law's visit, fled somewhere immediately. However, a few days later, they were caught by my father-in-law and my sister-in-law's husband. They were severely reprimanded. After that, we got divorced, as my husband had initially hoped. My husband begged for reconciliation, but I stubbornly refused. My ex-husband, who was abandoned by me and our daughter, lives a lonely life. My sister-in-law also got divorced, but didn't get any alimony, of course. She returned to her parents' home and now she is working tirelessly to repay her debts. Sometime after the divorce was successfully finalized, I got a job as a full-time employee at a design company, run by an acquaintance. I had worked at a design company before I got married, and my former boss, who had since started his own company, hired me. While it was my first time working in an office in a while, it wasn't a job I was unfamiliar with, and my colleagues were all great, so I have been enjoying my work and enjoying my days to the fullest. Since I receive child support from my ex-husband every month, I don't have any financial difficulties. Even though I am a single mother. Hannah was always a responsible child, and as she reached the upper grades of elementary school, she started taking the initiative to do household chores, like cooking and laundry. She's intelligent and kind, and it seems she's become a leader in her class at school. She's still talkative, and known for speaking her mind, which makes the boys a little afraid of her. I chuckled when I heard that, but at the same time I was determined to learn from her. I'm doing my best every day to protect Hannah, but in reality, I might be the one being protected. I'll work hard again today, so that Hannah won't call me good-for-nothing alien. With that determination, I looked up at the blue sky, and started heading to work again today.